Observe the recovery. And when you are running, don't compete. One single line. Don't compete. We are in training.
So I thought I would shoot the intro section here, but it's way too windy. I think I can barely be heard on the mic, so we'll have to find somewhere else to shoot it. So welcome back to the channel. I'm now back in Kapchorwa. As planned, I'd spent the last 3 months back in the UK working. Excited to be back here, excited to be back to training and learning more about training here and sharing the experience with you. So last month, of course, there was the terrible news about the passing of Kelvin Kiptum. Such a big loss for his family, for Kenya, for the world of athletics. Such a fantastic athlete. I was actually here in Kapchorwa last October when he ran that record in Chicago. It was an amazing race. Just remarkable what he achieved. So that was really, really sad. So in this episode, I wanted to look at easy running. So easy running, by that I mean running at slower than your race pace, forms the bulk of the mileage for most distance athletes. Those of you new to running, new to middle distance, especially long distance running, easy running is very important for building your aerobic pace. It also helps in terms of reducing your risk of injury, doing a lot of your mileage slower than your race pace. You're putting less tension, less pressure on the body. So it's really, really helpful, and I certainly learned the hard way. When I initially took up more running in 2020, within 3 months of starting to run, I had an issue with a tibial stress fracture because I did a lot of my mileage quicker than I should have done. I had a second difficult lesson when I started training here in Kapchorwa in 2022. When I tried to keep up with the athletes here, again, that was faster than a pace that I should have been running at, and I got exhausted through that. So being able to do a lot of your running easier, being very good for your training as an athlete. Certainly you do have to do faster workouts, either at race pace or even faster than race pace in order to improve on your times, improve on your personal bests, but the bulk of your running it tends to be easy. In the case of the athletes here, they'll do 3 or 4 of their mornings will be easier pace running. They'll also do their evening running at a slow pace, even slower than their morning pace. Yeah, so I'll take you along on one of their morning runs and look at their paces and essentially also compare their paces with their easy running against their race efforts. Yeah, so it's Wednesday morning. We're just off for an easy run. There's Joel and Indiwa with me. So these guys' easy run is like my tempo run here. So.
Yesterday we do speed walk, then today we are going for easy run. That is a pace of 450 to 420 there.
Yesterday workout was 600 times 10, and then 400 times 8. And the lapping for 600 was 68 per lap. Then 400 was 64, 65.
So I'll focus on the times of Joel and Indiwa in this video. They are much better athletes than myself. So Joel is a long distance runner. Indiwa focuses on the middle distances. Their race pace is around 2:45 minute per kilometer pace, so that's about a 4:30 minute mile pace. So as I've previously said, the athletes here will do group easy runs on the Monday, Wednesday and Friday morning. A large group of athletes joining. In fact, there's fewer athletes here currently than they would be, because there's the upcoming World Cross Country Championships and there's a national camp, so there's a number of athletes there preparing for the competition in Serbia later this month. So these easy runs will generally start very slow, at about 5 minutes per kilometer pace. It's great because I can keep up with the athletes for the first few kilometers. They use it as a warm-up and then gradually build, and the runs do tend to be progression runs, so getting quicker towards the end of the run. So how do you know what pace to run your easy runs? Well, there's several different methods of looking at this. One of them is running at a pace where you're able to hold a conversation. I find the athletes here do run quicker than that. Another more science-based way was devised by Phil Maffetone. I'm sure some of you are familiar with his work. He looked at something called the MAF, so the maximum aerobic function. And what that's looking at, a rough estimate is 180 minus your age as a maximum heart rate for aerobic training. So in my case, I'm 33, that would be 147 as a maximum heart rate, and therefore relying on heart rate data from a heart rate strap. Another way is running by feel. I think the athletes here do generally tend to do that. So on the days where perhaps after a harder workout, like on this occasion where they've done Tuesday track and they're now doing the easy run, you want to maintain a slower pace and just run on feel how you're feeling. The other thing I found is that the coaches here will tend to tell the athletes pace not to run quicker than, so they'd say about sort of 4 minute kilometer pace to try and keep under that. So again, a way of being able to keep in check that you're not pushing too hard on your easy running days. I think what I find interesting is that the women athletes will do different track workouts from the male athletes, so they'll do their sessions on the same day, probably have the same volume of a session as compared to the men, but they'll run in different groups. And yet in the easy runs, there's women keeping with the men athletes on the easy runs. Therefore, potentially they may be pushing too hard on their easy runs and potentially overtraining. I mean, I'm a novice in this area, but it's something that I definitely want to look at in more depth in future. So I can't talk about Kapchorwa without talking about hills. Several hills on the run. So there's several different routes that they use for the easy runs. But whichever route you go, if you're on the mountain, you're definitely going to have hills. And this was certainly a hilly easy run. So the athletes will sometimes compete during these easy runs. The coaches will definitely discourage this. But yeah, the runs can sometimes end at quicker paces, just because some of the athletes will want to sort of stand out, especially when some of the other big athletes are present, to show that they are very strong athletes too. So Joel and Indiwa averaged out 4 minutes 13 per kilometer pace on this run, so about just slightly over a minute slower than their race pace. So yeah, they keep their easy runs controlled. That's the way of building your aerobic base. So that's easy running. I hope that this video has taught you more about how the athletes here approach their easy runs and given you more food for thought about how you approach yours too. I'd want to know more about your easy runs. What paces are you running them at as compared to your race pace? What have you learned on your running journey with your easy runs, and how to approach them to improve your performance? Let me know in the comments down below. So I hope to bring more videos whilst here, cover more topics, so stay tuned for more. See you.